Well, I want to welcome everybody to Old Louisville. I'm Howard. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm Howard Rosenberg, and I'm chair of the Old Louisville Neighborhood Council. And we are here today to accept a very prestigious designation from the American Planning Association, naming the Old Louisville neighborhood as one of the great places in America. And I think that first of all, I want to welcome our distinguished speakers, Miss Amy Williams, who's president of the American Planning Association's Kentucky chapter, Mayor Greg Fisher, Congressman John Yarmouth, and Councilman David James. I also want to acknowledge Sean Williams, our executive director, who really worked tirelessly on this application and got it submitted to the American Planning Association and dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's, and made a compelling case to finally get the acknowledgement that we all in this room know that we deserve. I also want to thank our administrative assistant, David Williams, who also worked with Sean in getting this submitted. So thanks to David and thanks to Sean. You know, Old Louisville is really the great urban architectural jewel of Louisville. This National Historic District represents the largest contiguous collection of Victorian mansions in the United States. And I think more than that, it is a great example of urban planning and livability. I'm going to talk from the heart now. It is very easy to stand up here and accept an award. There's a lot of people over the last 30 or 40 years that have made this neighborhood what it is. And many of them are here. Some of them are chairs of the 17 neighborhood associations that make up the Old Louisville Neighborhood Council. Many of them are representatives to the council. We have our committee chairs who serve the council and serve this neighborhood. We have the elected officers. We have our event chairs who work tirelessly throughout the year doing things that look seamless to the rest of Metro Louisville, but it takes a lot of hard work. And this work didn't just start when I became chair of the council. This work started 30 or 40 years ago. So I think that this neighborhood and the workers of this neighborhood deserve a real round of applause. You know, I think that there are other historic neighborhoods throughout the United States. I think as I was looking and trying to prepare for this, I think the thing that separates this neighborhood are not just the grand mansions and the homes that are being restored as we speak. I think it's the diversity of this neighborhood. When you think about what we bring together on a day-to-day basis in this neighborhood, it's pretty phenomenal. I think the other thing that's important and that separates us from other historic cities and other historic neighborhoods is our connection with the arts. And I do want to thank our arts partner. Under Sean's leadership, we formed an arts council about a year and a half ago. And I do want to acknowledge them because they bring a lot of things to this neighborhood and to Metro Louisville. And that would be the University of Louisville, the Kentucky College of Art and Design, the Filson Historical Society, the Conrad Caldwell House Museum, the Asia Institute Crane House, Kentucky Shakespeare, also the Garvin Gate Blues Festival, the St. James Court Art Show, and the Louisville Free Public Library. Each of these educational, historical, and arts organizations are vital to the vibrancy of Old Louisville, and they are part of what makes Old Louisville great. And we make a point of working together. And I guess I want to end my remarks by just saying this. we started thinking about all the events that occur in Old Louisville, and I just want to run down them because I think that's another thing that not only separates us from other historic neighborhoods throughout the United States, but actually separates us from a lot of the neighborhoods in Metro Louisville. We start at the beginning of the year with an Old Louisville Live concert series that's right here in Central Park. Not long after Derby, we hold a community street festival called Springfest. The Kentucky Shakespeare Festival begins in June and runs through mid-August every year. And after, what is it now, 70 years that we've been offering this free event here in Central Park? We had a special performance this year of the Louisville Ballet, and we hope that that continues every year. We have Jazz in Central Park at the end of August, sponsored by Councilman David James. We then start the Old Louisville Live series up again in September. October is a crazy month. The St. James Court Art Show, always the first weekend in October. And anybody that lives here or anywhere throughout the United States knows how important that art show is. We then followed up with the Garvin Gate Blues Festival, the second weekend in October. Right now, we're presenting the Victorian Tales of Terror, our Halloween event. And those of you that haven't bought tickets or a t-shirt, please see us. T-shirts are on sale, and we have tickets on sale. We end up the year with the Old Louisville Holiday Home Tour, always the first weekend in December. And like I said, our event chairs are here, our committee chairs, the neighborhood is represented, and we just want to welcome you here today and thank you for all that you do for this community. That being said, I would like to introduce now Amy Williams, President of the American Planning Association Kentucky Chapter. Please, Ms. Williams.
All right. Is everybody excited to be here this morning to celebrate Old Louisville? All right. Great. As you did mention, my name is Amy Williams. I am the current president of the Kentucky chapter of the American Planning Association. I'm honored to be here today to represent APA in celebrating Old Louisville as a great place. Great Places in America is a flagship program of the American Planning Association that celebrates places with exemplary character, quality, and planning. Places are selected annually and represent the gold standard in terms of having a true sense of place, cultural and historic interest, community involvement, and a vision for tomorrow, and most importantly, a legacy of planning. Launched in 2007, APA has designated 260 neighborhoods, streets, and public spaces. This year, 15 designees were selected across 3 categories of great neighborhoods, great streets, and great public spaces. Factors that are considered when choosing a designee include places that offer options for all residents of the community, regardless of age, allow for various modes of transportation, and provide a mixture of uses and services. These great places showcase local architecture, landscaping, and urban design, and stand out from the norm. They serve as local economic development drivers and encourage social activity through various events, community programs, festivals, and more. And of course, they reflect the local culture and history of the greater community. We as planners believe that great places don't just happen, but rather they are a result of years of planning and community involvement. Planning for neighborhood and community does not have a start point or an end point, and many of you all definitely know that. It's an ongoing process. The purpose of creating a plan is to help encourage the community to think about where they are today and where they want to be in the future. This October, in conjunction with Great Places, the American Planning Association celebrates National Community Planning Month to honor and promote the incredible community efforts that make our great places possible. Old Louisville has a historical planning legacy, dating back to the Southern Exposition of 1883, which was the equivalent of the World Fair at the time. Through this, the electric trolley car premiered here, and riding delighted passengers through lighted tunnels to the adjoining DuPont estate, now known as Central Park. These 17 acres that we stand in today are premier parkland, and they serve as a central gathering space for the neighborhood. They were designed by iconic planner and landscape architect Frederick Law Olmsted, best known for planning another Central Park you might have heard of in New York City. Old Louisville has an exceptional urban design as well. As mentioned, it's most notably the neighborhood that boasts the largest collection of Victorian mansions in the United States. But this neighborhood doesn't stop there, and that's one thing that APA really looked at. It truly shines with the community engagement. This community is proud of its heritage and works to take care of the historic houses and sites. Residents have spearheaded the push for historic preservation through a preservation zone in this neighborhood. And since then, Louisville was zoned as a historic district, which has restricted the types of developments that can appear in the neighborhood. The main group behind this was the Old Louisville Neighborhood Council, which is made up of the 17 neighborhood associations and really spearhead the preservation efforts in this neighborhood. Such strong community groups can help carry the spirit and charm of the Old Louisville that has made its past exceptional and its future vibrant. This year, thousands of submissions were received from across the United States, and only 15 great places were designated. This is a highly competitive program, and we are honored to have Old Louisville among those designees. Again, it's my honor to congratulate the entire Old Louisville neighborhood and to celebrate your history and your vibrant future. On behalf of the American Planning Association, I would like to present the Great Places designation to Old Louisville.
There should have been about, I guess, 50 or 60 people standing up here with me. So anybody that's here that had anything to do with this, please, just come up here and get your picture taken with us because you all deserve this too. It's now my great pleasure to introduce the mayor of Metro Louisville, Greg Fisher, who, and a lot of you don't know this, but Greg is a blues man. He was... Since we started the Garvin Gate Blues Festival back, I get a call every year, or we call him, and he comes down, and sometimes we put a sequin vest on him and a blues hat and make him introduce, or he chooses to introduce one of our great acts. You don't make the mayor do anything, I don't think, but Greg Fisher.
Thank you, Howard. Well, we're all going to stand up here, and we're not going to say the same thing, right? It's like we all. So let's just first off, I feel like I'm kind of speaking to the Hallelujah chorus here, because as Howard has said, and was honored to be able to be up here today, really representing Old Louisville. The folks here in this room have done so much over so many years to reach this level of distinction that we've had today, that we've always known we're one of the great neighborhoods in the country, and we've always said that as well. But it is nice to get a national recognition because certain things come with that in terms of attention, tourism to help the businesses in the area, add a little bit to the soul of the community when we come here as well. So I just want to say thank you to everybody as I look around this room and recognize the individual roles that you all played in making this neighborhood such an outstanding place, because we talk about the 17 neighborhood associations, and some people, scratch their head and say, isn't that kind of messy, and isn't it hard to organize all those cats? And yes, it is. But I think what it represents is kind of the deep love and affection of 17 different groups that are kind of thinking about it 17 different ways, that it all comes together when this type of recognition comes to play, or during the art fair, or during the blues festival, where everybody comes together as just kind of one group celebrating Louisville, and we happen to be in Old Louisville, and we happen to be at St. James Court, or we happen to be at the Garvin Gate Blues Festival, and we just kind of all look at each other and say, isn't this cool? Aren't we having fun? And look at the diversity here. That's one of the things I really love about the Blues Festival. Howard and I talk about that every year. That is Louisville, and that's what's so great about it, and where we really shine as a city when everybody comes together like that. And the fact that it's happening in Old Louisville, I think, is probably the place for it to happen, right? When you think about the center of the city, and back in the day, in the Central Park and the Southern Fair and Exposition Center, where did it happen? Obviously right here. So it's only natural that all of these kind of cool events culminate right here in Old Louisville. All of us have always said, Old Louisville's about ready to break out. How many decades have we been saying that? And it's been a slow, gradual improvement every year. I do think we are about ready to break out now. We're seeing, and I don't know, we want to break out just at the right pace, too. We don't want to break out too much. You see that in cities around the country, you know, where they grow 7% one year and 1% next year. Then they end up with all these problems. We want nice, steady growth. The city as a partner, obviously, in Old Louisville, but the reason why we did the Edison Center, brought that back to life and put 400 people there is because we wanted 400 more people on Oak Street during the day, in the evening. Genscape's addition obviously brings another 100, 200. We can be strategic now of bringing density and life to parts of Old Louisville that then lifts everybody else up in terms of retail and housing, et cetera. So we've just got such a great natural tableau to work with. And in closing, just two things when you think about some symbols that we have in Old Louisville now architecturally. We, of course, have the beautiful Victorian mansions. But when we think about the speed now and the Filson, beautiful, old, natural, original structures that have now been adjoined to beautiful, forward-looking, futuristic structures. And I think that is such a great metaphor for where our city's at. We're going through a tremendous renaissance right now, and that's because we've got this great tradition and historic sense about ourselves, but we do not back off at all from saying, but we want to be great into the future as well. And I think architecture obviously is one of the ways that's expressed in a city. And without the great architecture of our Victorian mansions here, we certainly would have never had this type of distinction as well. So it's an exciting time in the city, and it is really an exciting time in Old Louisville as well. So I just want to say thanks to the APA. Thank you, Councilman, for the steady work that you do here as well. We have Congressman Awesome here with us as well, the country's best congressman, who this election cycle has liberated him even more, if you haven't noticed that. And for that, the citizens of Louisville really appreciate you. And I also have a proclamation, so Howard, you want to pull somebody else up here to get this, or? I'll do it, but this is the second one too. Okay, so when we're done here at the end, maybe everybody ought to come up and we'll just take a picture with all the proclamations, all right? But this is a city of Louisville honoring Old Louisville for its designation as a great neighborhood in America. The American Planning Association has told the world what we already know, that Old Louisville is a culturally rich neighborhood with unique character. A stroll through these blocks shows us exceptional architectural beauty that are often the backdrop for some of Louisville's finest artistic events. So the entire city congratulates the residents and community leaders of Old Louisville on this fantastic designation. Good job, everybody.
Thank you, Mayor Fisher, and I do want to introduce our awesome congressman, a great friend to Louisville, a great friend to Old Louisville, and you do one hell of a job, Congressman John Yarmouth.
Well, thank you, Howard, Mayor Fisher. Always good to be with you, Amy, David. Thanks very much, and all of you who made this possible. Congratulations. And my first thought when I heard of this designation is anybody really surprised? It can't be a surprise because we've all known what a very special place Old Louisville is. I have a couple of direct connections to Old Louisville. My father, who started what ultimately became the second largest publicly traded company in Kentucky in the 70s, actually had his first office on 3rd Street, a couple blocks from here, in a beautiful old mansion. And it was a revelation to me that you could put beautiful corporate offices in a very, very special old building. And then a few years later, when I was doing a magazine, some of you don't remember this, but I published a magazine called Louisville Today, and our offices were just a few blocks down at the corner of 4th and St. Catherine, again, in a beautiful building that easily was adapted to offices and a journalistic space. And I think that's one of the things that is really unique about Old Louisville, is that it blends residential and business and recreation and arts and virtually every aspect of urban living in one place, and it does it seamlessly and beautifully and with great taste. And I think the other thing that's special about it is that anyone in Louisville who has been to Old Louisville has had the thought at one time, gee, I wish I could live there. And I don't think there's any other neighborhood that you would say that about, but everybody has had that thought at one time or another. I'm going to tell one story and sit down. I'm sure most of you know who John Lewis is, great civil rights icon from Atlanta, Georgia, serves with me in Congress, a wonderful, wonderful man. And he was here a couple of years ago for the Kentucky Author Forum. And while he was here, you know, they do sessions out at U of L as well as the public activities. And so he got a tour through various neighborhoods in the city, and including Old Louisville. So the next day I saw him in Washington, and he came over to me, and he threw his arms around me, and he said, brother, I had one of the best days in my life in your city yesterday. And I just want to tell you, if I ever move from Atlanta, I'm moving to Old Louisville. Yeah. So I think that just about says it all. And once again, this is a great designation for Old Louisville, but also for our entire community. So congratulations to all involved. And as Greg said, we've got a lot of growth and development of the quality kind to be done in this community and certainly here in Old Louisville. And I look forward to representing all of that to the extent I can in Congress. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Congressman Yarmouth, and I want to introduce now our councilman, who's been a real supporter of Old Louisville, but also a close personal friend. And I've gotten to know David over the years and understand his commitment to what he does, his commitment to this neighborhood and to all the neighborhood that he serves. So, David James.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Old Louisville. And for everybody from Old Louisville, let me hear you say, yeah. All right. I want to thank the mayor, Mayor Fisher, your support for Old Louisville. And every time I come knocking on your door asking you for help, you know, sometimes I have to ask a little louder, but you always say yes. And I want to thank you for that. The things you did with the Edison Center and helping with Ginscape and Oak Street, all of those are so important to us, and I just want to say thank you for that. Congressman Yarmouth, you're the man, and I just want to say thank you for being here and everything you do for our city, and for the American Planning Association, thank you for the designation. You know, Howard and the mayor have already said everything that I had planned on saying, so I'm going to turn it back a little bit and talk about the people of Old Louisville. You know, most of you in this room, I have a conversation with you probably at least once a week or every 2 weeks. About something in Old Louisville. And as the mayor said earlier, you know, you have 17 neighborhood associations. Is that sometimes hard to manage? Well, yeah, but it's fun, okay? It's exciting. We all come together, and sometimes we're all not on the same sheet of music, but you know, at the end of the day, we end up with a great book. And so I appreciate that, and I appreciate all of you all for putting the energy in that you do. You know, we have so many people, and I don't really want to start naming names, but one of the people I just really want to recognize real quick is Herb Fink. Herb, sometimes we call him the mayor of Old Louisville, so you have a little competition there. But Herb pays detailed attention to everything that goes on in Old Louisville, especially the park. He will call me about a tree branch in the park. I mean, he is very particular about Old Louisville because he loves it so much. And all the people in this room and many, many more love Old Louisville because of its diversity, the houses, and just the mixture of people coming together. And we actually love one another like a big family. And so I just want to say thank you to all of you for making this happen. This didn't happen like yesterday. There were decades of work that was put into this, from the TNZD planning to everything. And so I just want to say thank you and congratulations to Old Louisville.
Let me thank everybody that spoke this morning. but also thank those that were council chairs long before I was. I wish they'd have told me what it was going to be like, so then I could have thought about it. The many people that serve on committees, again, the neighborhood chairs, their representatives, our event chairs, we went through the events. Thank you, everybody, for making this happen, because it wouldn't have happened without this great neighborhood. Thank you for coming out this morning.
This has been a Metro TV production, a public service of Louisville Metro government.